just have a question for him. Socialization is a huge part as to why education is very important. So I just want him to speak about socialization in the Gambia, what is happening now there at the Gambia, and how the issue of socialization and education is tackled together.
Okay, thank you.
This question is for the former minister, Mr. Momodou.
Thank you, Lidwine. It's good to meet you virtually after our meeting in Freetown.
Yeah.
I want to start off by thanking the leadership of Pan-African Leadership Foundation for such a fantastic opportunity, and really for one of the best keynote speeches I've listened to of late on the African platform, because more often than not, we're doing United Nations, SDGs, feminism, whatever. I mean, we're talking about the past when the world is moving into the future. So to talk about artificial intelligence here, I really want to say congratulations to the organizers and to our wonderful keynote speaker for a brilliant presentation. And his keynote speech actually connects with your question, education and socialization. Samir emphasized and re-emphasized the importance of education and socialization. Because if we look at our education infrastructure, for instance, and our education curriculum, we're doing rote learning, teaching young people to go and memorize stuff and pour it down on exam papers with the aid of their fellow students. We know about exam malpractice, for instance, in Sierra Leone, where our good friend, the anti-corruption boss, has had some real whooping of people who've been misbehaving. But the thing is, we need to change the education structure so that children are taught to think and create rather than memorize some dead stuff and put it on exam papers. This needs to change. If I may connect that to socialization, somebody asked Samir here about the digital divide, which is a relevant question. Why should our children in private schools in Accra get better and more relevant education than the rural students in Bo or Kanema? These are issues we need to look at. But the keynote speaker said education, education. Yes, education about artificial intelligence and what do you say? What's the new term they use in computing these days? Is a programming language, coding. It's about that, but also teaching our young people about the glorious past of Africa so that they know that technology is not new to Africa. We have the pyramids of Egypt. We have the stone circles of the Gambia and myriad technology, so that our young people can walk into this world of AI and other media with confidence that our people have also contributed something to knowledge, to education. There is no algebra without Africa. So we need to re-educate these young people to have that self-esteem and self-confidence to step into the future. And luckily, if you consider, I'm sure Samir might know this, the concept of creative destruction promulgated have to go through all the project, but you can leapfrog. We don't have to have adequate satellite technology before we get to AI. We can jump that process. We know that, for instance, AI is being used in Rwanda, for instance, during this COVID project. May I pause to know if I'm online with my boss, the former UN advisor, before I proceed? Should I proceed?
Yeah, proceed.
So most definitely education, education, education. What we have happening in our schools, in our universities is definitely not adequate to prepare us to leapfrog into the world of artificial intelligence. This is the policy environment, and I think the keynote speaker was talking about to create that ecosystem. Unfortunately, Paylef cannot do this. Lidwine cannot do this. Khalifa cannot do this. Even like Kay with all his creativity, he cannot do this. Our governments need to create the policy environment for us to be able to create educational systems and the necessary ecosystem for artificial intelligence. So this is where we, for instance, as African youth, need to get involved in the civic political process. Because if you don't have the right policymakers, you cannot have the right policy. If you don't have the right policy, there can be no progress. We we knew about the development of computer technology in Seattle, the Bill Gates, in Silicon Valley, the Steve Jobs. But they were not operating in a vacuum. They were operating within a policy environment that supports the development of technology. And up to today, no single company or individual is smart enough to make progress in technology or AI without the necessary government policy environment that includes, again, education, that will create those smart young people that can go ahead and build that ecosystem for artificial intelligence, for socialization, because we're going to have to deal with the digital divide, as one of the participants posed this question of a digital divide. And this is where the concept of creative disruption gives us advantage. Whilst the West leads this and they're falling into certain traps on the way, we can learn from them and see how we can take away the disadvantage of AI, because it does have disadvantages. It's not like manna from heaven, all pure and wonderful. It has its downsides. Some of them is this division of people, where already we know we are in our houses, the son is looking at TV, the father is on the phone, and the daughter is on some video game. So we need to be creative about these things. And I believe we have the intelligence and creative energy